Yes, here we go. It is time for the Bhoycie Bus. We New Year special as we preview. Obviously, there's a big derby game. Don't worry, we're not expecting loads of you to be watching. I expect people to have better things to do with their time, and I hope everyone's having a great time, whatever they are doing. I can still catch up. Big shout out, though, to all you who are going to be tuning in, jumping on the bus before maybe going out and about. And a big shout out to my three guests. There might be a fourth, you never know. But a big shout out to Pam, Liam, Johnny. Happy New Year to you guys and all the other contributors. We'll just do a wee round robin. How are we all doing? Pam?
I'm all good, thank you. Had a good Christmas, and honestly, the week between Christmas and New Year's, I'm just completely fucked up time-wise. So now I'm just focusing on January 2nd and just actually looking forward to it for once.
Do you know what? Sometimes being back at work's the best thing for you. We need that structure. Liam, what's happening over there in Canada? What time is it? Are you in the new year? Or are you waiting for the bells?
No.
I can't work it out. I can't work it out.
Mate, I'm a shapeshifter, but I'm not a Time Lord, right? But not yet, anyway. No, it's almost noon here. And getting ready, me and the wife are going to a punk rock New Year's Eve costume party at a pal's pub tonight. So,
go on. Tell me
fun
more. What are you dressing up as?
Don't know yet. I've got this really wild gypsy hat that I've had for years. It's got these native feathers and stuff on it. It's going to get that, my black Undertaker suit with a long coat and all that.
Love it. Johnny, great to have you back on the bus. Didn't expect you, Johnny, to be located. Looks like you're home. You're never home, mate. What's happening?
I'm at home, and unfortunately, I'm not going to have anything like the sort of New Year's Eve night that Liam seems to have lined up, because I'm on airport standby tomorrow. So about 6 o'clock tomorrow morning, I'll be driving down to Heathrow. So going to have to keep things kind of quiet. But there you go. Can't believe it's the first time in my life I've ever worked New Year's Day. But
first time you've been on the bus without a pint in sight. I was going to cancel the stream there.
Come on, mate. You know better than that. You're better than that. You're better than that.
Oh, I was worried, mate. Right, okay. Obviously, we've got a big game coming up on Tuesday, so we're going to get right into that. But before we do that, we'll do all that good stuff, which means give us a like, give us a share, buy some hair. And if you want to become a Bhoycie Bus member, all that crap, $1.99 a month, piesports.com, yada, yada. It's 12.5% Tasty Pastry Street if you use the code BUS1888. Enough of that pish. Oh, and hit subscribe and the bell as well. All that stuff. Who cares? Right, okay. We're on the cusp of what should be and has been traditionally known as one of the most definitive fixtures in a championship winning campaign. It normally is. There's been a term getting used a lot, and I'm going to introduce us with that and get all your thoughts. The term that's been used the last few days, and I think me and Terry used it, to be fair, that this game is a dead rubber. Now, that got me thinking, dead rubber. Is there such a thing as a game against them where you go in with no trepidation, lack of consequence, or just overriding feeling you're going to smash them that much, or you're miles ahead of them that much that you're easy-ozy about it? So I started thinking, when have I been this confident? And then I started thinking, when was the last dead rubber? So as much as there was something on the line when we played them for the first time since they'd reincarnated, we played them at Hampden. It was a 2-0 routine win, and the game never really caught a spark. I don't know if you remember, it was Lee Griffith scored a header, Chris Scommon scored a belter, but it felt like fucking hell. Maybe whatever there was before now really has disappeared, because this game never ignited. It was a routine win where I think if we'd put the foot down, it could have been a lot more. So that was like one example of that. But at the same time, if it goes wrong, you don't qualify for the next round, which then takes me nicely to the following season, where based on the fact we'd beaten lower league Rangers once at Hampden the year before, we went into it, and I think all of us had that not dead rubber vibe, but very much easy, don't worry about it. What will be, will be. Well, what came with that was actually going out in a penalty shootout in a cup, even though we still won the big league, the main focal point of the season. But we went out that day on a penalty shootout, and what was the backlash of that? A manager lost his job fans went bonkers. So it takes me to now this game, and I go, do you know what? Just imagine, I'm not saying I think this will happen, but I never thought they'd beat us in a penalty shootout in 2016 either. The aftermath, if this result doesn't go our way, do not think we'll be treated with the same comme ci, comme ça attitude that maybe we're going into it with. So just as a wee curiosity thing, is that something that's crossed your mind, Pam? I'll come at you first. That this fixture might, on paper, look, or based on recent results, easier. It might look like there's a lack of jeopardy in it, such as the strength of the league position. But if it goes Pete Tong, and we were to be on the wrong end of, say, a 2-3-0 defeat, 3-0, say 3-0, right? Something like that, and everything just goes against us, and they're on fire. Do you honestly think everyone will just start sparking the cigars still after it, saying it doesn't matter? I'm beginning to change my mind on it the closer the fixture gets. That, do you know what? There's no such thing as going to Ibrox or playing them at all, really. That doesn't carry a hell of a lot of meaning and also a hell of a lot of jeopardy.
I agree with you. I don't like to use the term dead rubber, especially in this fixture, because, a win's a win over them. I'd happily take a win any day. The smile is putting on my face already just thinking of it. However, this game is different. This season actually has been different in general. For our first derby this season, the 3-0, I actually felt pretty calm that day. We got the job done. It was pretty routine in a way. This one, I'm feeling even more calm. Like, I'm not going to need to take one of these anxiety tablets beforehand because I'm just feeling that calm. Of course I want to win. Who doesn't want, that's a healthy thing to want to win always. You have to have that hunger and that desire, of course. But, I think, not unfortunately for us, but unfortunately for them, the mental effects of this season so far are such that the result has much more of an impact on them than it does us. And I'm embracing that. But that being said, I want to win.
Well, we all definitely want to win. And I think, Liam, your memory will serve you right as well. The aftermath of that said defeat I was referring to in 2016 had serious ripple effects. Some positive, to be fair, for Celtic, because it got their act into gear, and we went from signing guys like Colin Kazim-Richards to Moussa Dembele in the space of 6 months. We went from the Ronnie Deila experiment, a guy they only wanted as assistant manager at that time, if you remember. They only wanted him as assistant, but that meant they missed out on Roy Keane because you don't get to tell Roy Keane who your assistant manager is. But we got then upgraded to Brendan. Now, that, if you actually think about it, was the good side. What also occurred, though, was real fan fury, real upset, real disbelief. And I cannot emphasize enough, I don't envisage us being on the wrong end of, a particularly bad result. But it still doesn't mean it can't happen because we've got recent evidence of it. And we know how we felt then. I didn't want to feel like that come the 2nd of January afternoon on Thursday evening or whatever, you know what I mean?
Aye. It's funny, the narrative about this game. There's a, we're all talking about it being a runaway, that we are going to beat them, hard. And, you look at it, it's like you're seeing Mike Tyson in his prime. You want a knockout. You want to see our team going in there and not just beating them, but emotionally beating them. Because right now they're all triggered. You've heard them. They're bears. They're, what are they? Bears are.
You can take the bear out the wild, but you can't take the wild out the bear.
Well, they still shit in the woods and they do everything else. So I think you got to watch these bears. Now, I think if we run up the score tomorrow, and I think there's a very good chance. So what's the chance of running up a score at Ibrox? I don't know. I don't know if the referees would let you do that. I don't know if the security would come in at half time and tell Celtic to take the foot off the pedal. I don't want a riot in here because you've got no fans. Can we get the security we need there if we go out and we do how we express ourselves? If we express ourselves through football and we score a barrel load, will they be emotionally able to take it? I don't think so.
Yeah, interesting that. I mean, it's also interesting that, they kind of go, as wild bears do, they kind of go hibernating at the start of the season when it's like neck and neck. Oh, they're back again. Forgot about you. Where have you been? It was neck and neck for a bit. They only come out when they're 14 points behind and there's nothing to worry about. Johnny, it is, though, all jokes aside, the other side of the coin, whilst it's unlikely, can't be underestimated how you'll then feel and how that then has the ripple effect on the team going into the next fixture, the fixture after that, the anger, the hysteria that would naturally occur. If we don't go into that game, and I'm sure we will, but if we don't go into that game and do what we can do, and it doesn't go the way we want, and it was to be particularly disappointing, that will remind you that no such thing as taking these games easy.
No, well, let's just say to start with, from a fan aspect, this is a dead rubber as far as the league goes. As far as the league goes, it's a dead rubber. Win, lose, or draw, it can have no effect on where the title ends up. All right. The players can't have that attitude, though, and I'm glad I read Alistair Johnson's. I think it was on the Daily Record I seen online where he's saying they've got to treat it like any other game. But I think it is as far as the league goes, it's a dead rubber. But the last time we went into a dead rubber against them, they done us 3-0 after we clinched the title. Must have been Postecoglou's first season, was it?
Aye.
Yeah.
Aye.
And we went to Ibrox and they done us 3-0. They done us quite easy. So our lads have got to go out there on Thursday and go at them from the start and go out as if this is a neck and neck title race that we're in, and we're trying to open up a 3-point gap rather than a 17-point gap. And it's like you said earlier on, Russell, New Year's Derby games in the past have more often than not been quite pivotal in where the titles ended up. But it's not going to be this time. But we can't have Celtic can't go out there with that attitude. They've got to go out with the attitude of we're out here to really stamp on you. It's not take our foot off the throat. Just press it down all the harder.
And I think though, when you talk about from the fans' point of view, though, there also has to be wary that you won't be zen, regardless of where the league's going to go after the game, if it goes the wrong way. That's the difference. There's still have that emotion, that rage, that you won't just brush it off because we're going to win the league, will you?
Oh, we won't brush it off, but it's not going to be having us all with pitchforks in hand heading towards Celtic Park,
getting the sharks out.
Getting the sharks out, demanding people's heads and whatnot. And I am absolutely, completely at this moment in time relaxed. Now, wherever I end up watching this game on Thursday, I'm hoping, because I'm on standby, and I'm hoping for a 3-day New York so I can get to New York and then get out into an Irish bar and watch the game over there. Or I might be sitting in a service station and sitting watching it on the old Sky Go on my phone. Either way, when the game actually starts, I will be like a lunatic, as anybody who's ever watched me. As anybody who's ever watched me watching a Celtic Rangers game, the wife's always telling me that, calm down, stop shouting, sit down, stop moving, mind your language. Half the street can hear you. I'm surprised it's only half the street, to be fair. And we live on a long street. But no, so I will be. If we get beat initially, I will be raging, but I think I'll calm down quite quickly because we'll see.
We'll see. That would mean the manner of the defeat as well, though, would come into it.
It will be the manner of the defeat. I mean, if we get beat 1-0 and it's they get a penalty back that they feel that they should have had at hand and a go, and whatever. But at the minute, I'm pretty relaxed about things, and hopefully we'll come out on Thursday and do the business and get it done early so I can sit and relax and watch the game. But what we've got to bear in mind, Rangers play well on a Thursday, don't they?
Oh, yeah, of course. To be fair, they probably kind of would have the right to say they do. Better than we ever managed to achieve on Thursday nights, to be honest. But that all aside, let's flip the narrative. Right, we've got that out of the road, Pam, right? That's out the road now. I was just playing devil's advocate to a couple of things that we've read about. The other side is we go into this game with the best Old Firm manager record ever of all time in situ. Brendan Rodgers, who's just given us the best calendar year of 2024 in living memory of Celtic in terms of the amount of records broke and the amount of records broke for the first time in 100 years, 50 years in some cases. But all these records dotted about. A season where we played 50 games, lost 2. A season where we went unbeaten at home in all competitions. These are good times we're living in. Realistically, we go into this game from a Celtic point of view. I just purely want to focus on Celtic for this round robin, right? And then we can look at, why they might be shiting themselves and as a different segment. But from a Celtic point of view, as Brendan did not miss at the presser today, I don't know if any of you's seen it, and he said, he said, we're not doing bad for a mini slump. And I thought, he's fucking on the bus, because I have said similar. I was like, see, for this terrible run of form we're on, we've won a trophy, we've extended the gap at the lead by 4 points, we've drawn a game away in the middle of the winter fixtures to Dundee United. That's going to happen in seasons. And other than that, we've had 2 4-0s at home. Shite. Just shite. Oh, I think they were including as well the fact that we drew in the Champions League. I'm okay with the form we're on. And if this is Brendan's mini slump, which he was quite quick, I think, to get that wee shot fired, shall we say, at the presser, and rightfully so, by the way. He also says, to be a manager, he goes, what you have to learn to do is accept people writing and asking questions about things they would not be able to do in their lifetime. And he says, people who couldn't manage their way out an empty room, you've got to be patient with them because they're part of, the whole realm of the manager gig, if you like, because media plays such a big part. But I thought it was good for him to get those shots on the board. You can't help but feel with Brendan at the wheel, not of the bus, obviously, you don't get that. But with Brendan at the wheel, we do have a right to go in feeling pretty confident based on the mini slump we just seem to have came out of recently.
Oh, hell yeah. I mean, this season in general has just been magic. I mean, we've seen the effects of what he was cultivating last season. I mean, especially with Kuhn and Paolo Bernardo. Those to me are the 2 biggest symbols of how far we've grown in just his year and a half of being there. I mean, and I like the fight. I like the fact he bites back a bit as well at the press. That was always something that, if I had to critique John, he could be a little bit too passive. And in this fixture, it's not just about talent and actually winning the games. It's about having that kind of bit of attitude in a way to kind of step up. It all makes it. So I'm glad that he has that in him too. I mean, it really motivates me. As a Celtic fan,
his moments, Pam. He picks his moments. He waits. He picks his moments to have these digs, Rodgers, right?
Yeah.
So if you look right now, you used the Ange comparison, not me, by the way.
Sorry,
but now it's on. But now it's there. But now it's there. Now it's there. I mean, he gets prickly when things aren't going his way.
Yeah.
He gets prickly when he's under pressure. Rodgers gets prickly when he's got all his ducks in a row. I always like that about him. He's that dig there is done by a man who is, sailing away domestically with the league title, the first trophy in the bank. He's taking the piss right now, and he has every right. If you're gonna cast up the wee things that have annoyed you as a manager, do it when you're ahead. Do it when you're winning. Rodgers literally, Postecoglou literally said this week to a media pundit, "I think I'm going to stop taking questions. I think you're just here to wind me up." It's like, no one's there to wind you up, mate. No one's there to, if you're getting wound up, it's because of the results. Whereas Rodgers lets himself get wound up, but maybe at certain times, and then picks his moment. 14 points ahead, Glasgow Derby coming up. They're on the rocks. Have a bit of that. I like that, Pam. What do you think?
He walks the walk and then he talks the talk, which for me is just so ideal because you get the result and then you're like, boom, in your face. This is who we are. Fuck off type of thing. And I love that. That's my attitude in life in general. If you tell me I can't do something, I say, fuck you, I'll do it anyway. And I think that's what Brendan does in his football. It's really refreshing to see because it actually adds meaning as well when you do get the result. Because you're like, here, I'm going to give you a middle finger now for being a prick, for doubting me, all that stuff. And, you know, he has a balance of it, because he kind of regularly does it to the journalists, but it's not overboard. Like, I think everybody's gonna remember when he said to the journalist something along the lines of, over my 2 spans as manager, I've come up against 5 Rangers managers, and every time, you know, I've won against them, something along those lines. Stuff like that you're never going to forget.
I was always told they were coming, I think he said.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you can actually use that. You can take that, you can use that as motivation to further win, further get the results. So I think he has a perfect combination, and it has the effects of, you know, actually giving credit to your achievements, giving credit to the team, you know, telling the establishment basically to fuck off as well, because they're trying to paint a picture for the tabloids. Essentially, it's clickbait, all that stuff, no truth in it. And thirdly, you know, it just sets it straight. You know, we are the best.
Yeah, definitely. And I don't mind that shot across the bowl, Liam, when you are miles in front. It doesn't look like you're being petty like some of the managers can. It looks like a man in complete control who's got, as Martin O'Neill said in his first ever day in office, off camera before he did his presser, I've got a long memory. And I think Brendan epitomizes that. He's got a long memory. And see all these wee silly digs? I'm going to throw them right back at you. But once I get my job done, as Pam rightfully says, once I've walked the walk, I'm then going to talk your talk back to you. It's brilliant to see. And he does fill you with confidence going into these games. 20 games, 1 defeat in the derbies is a joke of a record. And what they'll continue to do is belittle Rodgers' achievements by saying, in 3 years' time, how shite was Clement? How shite was Mikey Beale? Listen, they also said Rodgers scarpered because Gerrard had them by the balls because they'd won 1 derby, right? Neil Lennon came in and won that league at a canter. Neil Lennon then won the treble again the next year. So that wasn't any great shakes that Rodgers was been leaving for. When it was Mark Warburton, we had former international star. What was the defender? They had the Portuguese guy with 100 caps. They had Joey Barton coming up here and they were paying big money. Ex-Arsenal Invincible Senderos. Plenty of names you could say, well, that makes a bit of a team. And then with hindsight, they'll all go back and they'll diminish his achievements. But we know how it was at the time of these games, in the present, at those moments. And I think for him to have always overcome whatever version of Rangers it's been up against, whatever managers, team tactics, and whatever version of team, we've always seemed to come up trumps in this fixture under the current manager, have we not?
I mean, if it wasn't for a worldwide pandemic, I mean, we'd be going on for like 15 or 16 right now. You know, this is, you know, the COVID season was an anomaly for us as well. And for some reason, that gave them life. They didn't want to look around at empty stadiums. They didn't want to look at the world in a mess. They didn't want to look at, you know, what looked fairly obvious, a rigging testing system and all that sort of stuff that they applied. But they built confidence with that, where you should have been calling that out and looking to see, okay, well, we still have work to do. No, they were ready to settle that. All of a sudden, they turned a corner again. And honestly, it's heartbreaking to watch them. You know, every time they have that wee bit of hope, it seems to get pulled away. They've got unformed strikers. They've got midfield dynamos undiscovered that last for 2 or 3 games and then completely just play themselves off the park. Their managers they fall in love with, you know, like a worse record than Drew Barrymore, you know, like falling in love with people. It's, I don't know. And they all manage to be very, very unlikable as well. And I think the media plays such a big part in that as well, that's why you're getting some of that sort of feedback for Rodgers. One of the things watching him yesterday, or I don't know if it was the day yesterday in that press conference, Christ, his eye contact with the press, there was more looks, winks, eye lifts. It was like watching The Rock in prime, you know, WWE.
Yeah.
The way he was going, it's like you could see.
Peacocking, mate.
He was just throwing wee bits of shade with his eyeline and all that in that room as he just looked around. It's like, aye, you're checked, aye, I remember you, aye. And yeah, I mean, that's prime time. You want to see that as a fan. I love that, you know.
I think you're right, and everything he's doing is with clout, though, Johnny. The record backs up. The records speak for themselves. His best 2020, or Celtic's best 20 calendar year has been 2024. We've had many slumps. We've had the manager wanted out in that time. Here we are, 14 points clear already going into the January derby. One derby already in the bag. One trophy already in the bag. So his record is phenomenal in this fixture. He fills us with confidence. I'm going to guess, out of all the Celtic managers you've seen, he's got to be up there with the one who puts your mind most at ease going into this derby.
Oh, without doubt. I mean, it's like you said, what is it? Is it 19 wins out of 20 or something, is it?
It's 20 games, 1 defeat. I'm sure of that. I don't know if he's drawn any.
Yeah,
I think he drew one. He drew one in the Invincibles 1-1. Remember they celebrated, it was Clint Hill.
Oh, yes.
In the last minute at Celtic Park.
That's right. And the Rangers players were all standing outside and
he drew one last season in 3-3.
The trophy for the 1 point they'd managed to achieve. Yeah, I mean,
remember they won 3-3, Johnny. They won 3-3 last year as well. Remember? Yeah. So there's been a couple of draws.
Yeah. So that's right. Yeah, but there's nobody knows this tie, and nobody knows how to get through this tie better than Brendan. He knows what to do, and he can pull off. As we spoke about it plenty of times on the bus already before. He can pull off something you just don't see coming, i.e. we go down to 10 men and we put on Edouard, who then goes on to score the winning goal, so he pulls master strokes like that. He really should be a member of the Magic Circle if he's not already, because he just pulls tricks from here, there and everywhere. And yeah, we've got to be confident about Thursday because, well, let's put it this way, who do we trust? Who would you trust on Thursday as the managers to pull out something different and pull out something special to make a difference in the game? And I don't think he's in the blue corner, is he? It's going to be Brendan all the way, because the sports scientists, for a start, won't let Philip Clement do anything particularly special. But no, we've got to be confident with Brendan. With Brendan, as you say, at the wheel, then you've got to be pretty confident that we'll negotiate any hazards that they might put in front of us.
I was going to say to you there, Johnny, see when you said about who would you have your faith in to come up with something, me and Terry were talking in the PMP, but I don't know if you caught it, and don't worry if you didn't, it doesn't matter. But we were talking about the set piece aspect. I just wonder if that's something that's going to have panicked Rangers a bit. For the very little time they're going to get to work on this fixture, they're going to go, right, they're going to short corner it, and they've got moves now. They're doing these, there's one that they do a flick, and there's another one, they pass it right across, and he dinks it over to one of the midfielders who plays one of the passes, then just makes a rocket move, or like a bullet into the box, and they're going to loft it. So they'll be planning for all this, and then you do what Terry said. And instead of that, you do the first corner, you take it short, and you do one of your moves. And they're going to think, right, that's what it worked on. And you just send every next one in for big Scalesy. It makes total sense. It makes total sense. I think set pieces could be something that Brendan's added to Celtic's locker, Johnny, at just the right time to give them even more of a head fuck going into this game. I know that sounds bad language, that shit, I don't care. But I think they're going, wait now, set pieces is our thing. That's not their thing. They don't scope for set. Suddenly Celtic are doing flicks and tricks. We even make set pieces look good, guys. And then come the derby, you go actually the other way, and they'll see a Bernardo going out to do the shorty, fake it, draw two players out, get the cross in, and it would likely be Scales or CCV on the end of it. I think that would be phenomenal for us to be beating them with the one thing they rely on the most in this game: shirt pieces and headers and all that shite. Shut up.
Yeah, and it would have to be said. I think Engels is also coming back into a bit more confidence and form, if you like, over the last couple of games. And with him on the set pieces, particularly the corners and that, I think and on the assumption it's Scales rather than Trusty that's playing, Scales seems to be the man in the middle who recently is getting his head on the end of them and either putting it in the net or somebody else coming in and taking advantage of Scales winning the ball as well. So yeah, so it could well be. But I don't know what their defensive lineup is going to be like. They've got at least 3 players out, haven't they, from the centre defence, and Tavernier's out as well now, I believe I've been reading. So I think our speed and movement will also be a factor as well. Kuhn and Maeda, for example, I think they will terrorise, particularly Kuhn. Love Maeda, but I mean, a winger he's not. He's very fast. He hasn't got the dribbling skills and the ball control skills of somebody like Kuhn, but he just creates havoc. If you put the ball in front of him, then he just creates absolute havoc. Whereas Kuhn does it differently. Give the ball to Kuhn's feet, and he will create havoc. I mean, we all know what he's going to do. Kuhn, he's going to come in, and then he's going to come inside. Then he's going to want to get on that left foot to try and either shoot and score. But it's one thing knowing what he's going to do. It's a completely different thing stopping it.
Yeah, well, of course it is. And Pam, one of the other things that can happen in these fixtures is that if they're going to do the high press and try and sort of set the tone for the fixture of the home side, which is kind of their responsibility to do that when it's meant to be a even Stevens derby you're going into. One other thing that Celtic could do, I've just spoke about set pieces with Johnny there, but the other thing Celtic could do, a measured way, but it's lump it. A measured lump over the top, and you've got the pace of Kyogo, Maeda, and Nicholas Kuhn. All three of them are racehorses. I mean, you put one into that space where the goalkeeper doesn't know whether to come or not, the defenders having to turn on their heels, they don't communicate well enough, their backline. We'll talk about them in a bit. Those three would put pressure on a high press against any side if you go over the top. Such is the intensity they're running and the speed that they can go at. That's another option. There's many ways to skin a cat.
100%. I mean, my first thought is, if there's a time to try the new tactics or like just try something new, I think it's this time. You know, and I think that's just how much I feel. It's not a dead rubber, but it's time to experiment as well. You know, I could see that happening, especially, you know, either Liam Scales. I think Liam Scales has the ability to lob the ball up the pitch, but somebody who I know has this ability, but he's been kind of off since Ange left, Rio Hatate. I think if Rio Hatate can kind of get the confidence and maybe work with Kyogo as well as he did under Ange, but I don't know. I think there's definitely potential for it. For me, I do like to focus on our corners though, because I think we've just gotten so good at them. I remember when Matt O'Reilly left, I thought, damn, gone to shit. But, you know, especially with Engels taking them and Scales having that massive presence, I think we're pretty good on that front. But yeah, I'd definitely like to see, you know, I definitely would like to see like the long balls up, especially when some of the team, they can pass the ball back a lot still. That's like my one grievance with how we play is sometimes when we pass the ball back. Quite minor, I know, but like here I have to be
like retention based sort of thing.
Yes, definitely. I think we do need to just even like lob it up a little bit, but you know, it doesn't have to be ill-disciplined, but maybe spot out the Maeda, the Kyogo, of course. And I think with time, Nicholas Kuhn will become more comfortable with that type of play too. But I think for now, definitely Maeda. Maeda's probably the best at getting control of the ball at first. I noticed there was one derby, I think it was late last season. He got a very long pass up. I can't remember who it was from. He had great control of it in the air. And I think it was the Lundstrom own goal. Just built in. Lundstrom had the own goal. So I think he's very good at controlling. Yeah. I agree. It's something to try out. And if there's a time to try it out, it's going to be on the second.
Aye. Well, I mean, I always think back as well to Rodgers' first derby. Liam was at Ibrox in his second spell. And, okay, it wasn't a long ball, but it was a long ball of sorts because it was a header from Matt O'Reilly, but it was like a counter header. The ball came one way, and then he's headed it right over the top of their defender. The time it took them to spin, Hugo was in on the half volley, not a problem. Hit it early, caught Jack Butland, you know, way unawares, which I think could be easier than we maybe firstly anticipated as well. But that always gave me a wee bit of insight. It's like you can break the lines without it being on the deck. And I don't think our pace that we've got in the front three has done that quite enough yet. All our goals are more what you would expect from a Rodgers team against them so far. I think there's another way to really hurt them at Ibrox, and because they're under so much pressure, they can't sit in because they've got the kid on. There's a hope they can win the league. They've got to be on the front foot. I'd be getting that ball to someone like Engels and go, let's see how good your Techers is, mate. Put that in a 10 pence piece up there and behind him and watch how our players get to it first. And see, once you do that, you could hurt them big time. I know it's not what people like as a philosophy of football. I don't care about philosophies. I don't care about plaudits. I care about points. And that is one way to do it. What do you think?
You know, I'm glad I watched that Rangers Spurs game. I watched it just because I wanted to see how they stood up against another team. And Spurs were so bad that night that if I hadn't seen that game, I would have think, well, you know, let's be a wee bit wary. This team can still play a tune in Europa-type games, playing against much better teams, you know. And that's what I would have been worried about. But I saw that game, and I saw the way they've developed and evolved since that game as well, where I think it's psychological. I don't think they have the mental, emotional
this is it.
Stamina and that to beat us. It has to be. Psychology is such a big part of football that, you know, along with your sports scientists and all that, he's going to need a team of Tony Robbins type psychologists with this team, because going out there, like as soon as we take that first attack, Russell, you're right. We are going to overwhelm them. And I think that has to be our strategy. It has to be that same thing where you come out and you take the crowd out of the game and make them make fouls, because you know they will. You'll see what the referee is going to be like at that point, and we just have to play our football. And if we can do that, as you're right, it's going to work, and it's going to work by stretching them. What I like about our recent games is we started scoring goals from all over the park and different.
Totally agree.
You know, it was really nice to see Kyogo missing a few chances again, because he doesn't usually get them now. But now I'm seeing him missing 3 and scoring 2. That's the type of service I want to see to Kyogo, and I think that's what's coming in. And I'll say it, I think Valley played a big part in that, because we've taken away that channel that goes from Greg Taylor to Callum McGregor. And that seems to be a crutch that we rely on. Without that on the game the other day, players were having to take on more responsibility. And you can see them, they were moving any spaces, and they're finding their better options than that pass back to Callum and let him rewind it again. It felt like we were playing at a different speed. And if we play that speed again, we're going to destroy them.
I want to come back.
Stadium, guarantee it.
Sorry to keep you waiting, Johnny. I'm going to come back to Liam though quickly on obviously No, I'm going to come back to it, because it's naturally was going to be a subject that came up. So now you've addressed it, we may as well discuss it, because Liam, firstly, it looks like you've chased him that far away. It's going to Croatia now. Is now his preferred option. He wants to speak to them in January, which he doesn't need to ask Celtic for. So when I seen that story, it didn't quite make sense, as he doesn't need to tell Celtic he wants to speak to Dinamo Zagreb. He can speak to whoever he wants in the last 6 months of his deal. So whoever that Twitter reporter is, the way I read it, and his tweet, it didn't really make much sense. Is why would he make Celtic aware? I'm going to, surely if you're going to have a multi-million-pound agent, he's going to be going, what we do is we find out all our interested parties, find out what they're all willing to pay, and then go back to Celtic and say, I can get this, what are you going to do? So I don't really see why he would be alerting Celtic first. However, what I do agree with on the Taylor argument is when we play with Bhoycie at the back, and then maybe taking Callum back out is an interesting experiment. But that is how Rodgers' teams want to line up. That's how he wants them to look. That is in his ideology. And he made a special dispensation to Taylor because it was his only left back option last year. He was so out of form the first 4 or 5 months of the season. He became the roaming old school Ange player, introverted fullback. And that was Rodgers accommodating someone so out of form he had to find a way back for him. I agree. I prefer the look of how we shape when Bhoycie's in the left back role. He plays in a similar manner to KT, who's coming home, so we believe. And I think that would make a hell of a lot of sense. You let Taylor go in January, and you have Vi and KT, using each other's for their benefits. You've got Vi coming on for a lot of the domestic home games, and then you've got KT, I think, for the trickier domestic games, and then the couple of massive European games we've got as well, if he's eligible to play in them. But certainly going forward, that would be the sort of blueprint for how you use him. But I think it does him without Taylor there at left back. Just shape-wise and how the system's going to work, he does seem to be this unprogrammed part of it that Rodgers had to kind of put a square peg in a round hole for, because we didn't really have an option there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping that's what it was. I hope it was just a placeholder for that way. I mean, it's so easy for me to try and give up on Rodgers because I don't agree with his left back. And I have to keep thinking, okay, well, it might just be the best that he can do right now, and that's part of his man management. I just never understand the 90 minutes a game and the first name in the team sheet approach to Greg Taylor in that position, because I think Valley or someone that at least comes in and plays that traditional role is a lot better. To see a guy go down the side and get across and cut in, I mean, it's so much a big part of our game. On the other side of the field, you don't see the stop and the pass back with Alistair Johnson to Carrpool, CCV as much as Taylor McGregor do it. You don't even see it with Johnson and any of the other players. At that thing where there's not that desire to not open your body but just sort of accept it, and the first instinct is to pass it back. I think it really fucks with our timing, and you can see a lot of players getting frustrated with it because that ball should be getting moving over forward. Instead, you get the pass back to Callum McGregor, and then you get the arm wave to whoever he passed it to get it up the park, where that we had all the time to get the ball up the park from that position. So I don't know. I think seeing more dynamic player on that side that can actually tackle, that can get involved, and it can add to the attack in a way that's positive, that suits our formation, and know some sort of Frankenstein position that we've carved out just because we like a guy's character.
Liam, what you really want in that position, is a replica on the left as we've got on the right. It's the difference on whatever day it was we last played against St. Johnstone. The difference when you've got Kuhn and Johnson back in the team and Johnson back fit, the way they link up and the partnership they've got. Taylor playing the way he's playing at the minute isn't getting there's not an opportunity for the same partnership between whoever's left back and Maeda. And if you had the two of them, if you had it same on the left as you've got on the right, it would be absolutely devastating. But it's not like that. But I think Valle and Maeda have got the potential to create that same sort of partnership as they have between Kuhn and Johnson on the right-hand side. And as I said, that would be absolutely devastating. Teams just wouldn't know how to cope with that at all.
Right. Yeah, exactly. No, you're spot on. Johnny, where are you then, if I'm just asking the question for tomorrow, bearing in mind Taylor's been a big part, whether we like it or not, of the starting 11s that have had this incredible year. Where are you aligned to think we'll go for left back tomorrow? And then secondly, who would you pick if it was you in the dugout?
Okay. Answer the first question first. I think Brendan will go with Taylor. To answer the second part of the question, I think Pam said earlier on, it's not a bad game to try some experiments, is it? And try something new. And playing Vi tomorrow, and would that be his Ibrox? Well, it'd be his Ibrox debut. Would it be his Derby debut? Is he played against them already? Did he play in the first game or in the cup final?
I've got a feeling he came on.
Right.
Celtic Park.
I think it'd be a good opportunity. Yeah. A good opportunity to say, right, let's see what you can do. Because let's face it doesn't matter what we think, whether it be a dead rubber, whatever. It's going to be a cauldron of hate on Thursday, and it's going to be I think it would be the biggest test of how somebody can stand up to a hostile crowd that you will ever get. Is going to be on Thursday at Ibrox, and let's put the guy in and see what he's got to play with, and see if he's worth looking at and saying, right, okay, we haven't got an agreement to buy you, but we want to buy you, and let's see what you've got.
Is there any other big debates positionally wise for you, Johnny, in terms of it's a straight shootout to get there? I think the one, I mean, for me, I think Atati's fortunate that he's kind of done some showbiz bits in the last couple of games that recency bias and combined with all the credit in his bank will make up for the fact I think he's had a poor season overall so far. Just my opinion.
Yeah.
Maybe holding him to a higher standard you hold others, and I get that. But I think it will be him and Calmac who play. So it's going to be one of the others. It's going to be Engels. It's going to be Bernardo. It's going to be McCowan. I think that one's it's a good debate. Would you lie on that one, Johnny, before I go to Pam?
I think that's one of the toughest decisions that us as fans can try and figure out. I think Brendan will go with Engels. I think he'll go with Tati, and I think he'll go with McGregor. But both Bernardo and McCowan have got excellent credentials and good arguments to say, well, it should be me. Particularly Bernardo, I think. I think what it'll be on Thursdays, it will be Engels, and I think at some point Engels will probably have to be 60 minutes, 70 minutes. Engels will go off for Bernardo, depending on how the game's going. I think that's what will probably happen. I like Bernardo. I think he's a good player. He's not a fan. He's not a stand dancer. He's not a fancy player. He does what he needs to do. He does things well, and he's steady and he's strong, and he's got a bit of bite about him as well. And he can also throw in a goal or two, which is so far Engels has only managed to do from the penalty spot. He hasn't scored from open play as yet, whereas Bernardo and McCowan both have. So, but I think it's pretty laid on that it's going to be McGregor, Hattati, and Engels is where I would put my money if I was forced to.
No, I think you're probably right. I think there's an argument to say that it's a good thing, Pam, to have players feeling a wee bit hard done by they're not getting in the team. That tells me there's competition. That tells me there's folk fighting for jerseys that are all performing to a not too dissimilar level. And then if their nose is out of joint, they're not playing, they then redouble their efforts in training the next week. When they come on, they work their balls off. These should be prerequisites anyway, by the way. But competition breeds better form from players. It always has. It's been my biggest criticism of Celtic in these years of dominance, how we've not been able to squad build sufficiently to where we can compete in Europe as well as having the domestic bliss. This squad is competing in Europe, and we are having, funnily enough, domestic bliss, where I think we've played, is it 18 domestic games so far? And we've drawn 2. I mean, it's unbelievable when you look at it that way. But one of the big factors, of course, with the competition that we're looking for, Jesus Christ, hit my screen there, is the midfield area. Seeing it without Calmac, it needs to be, not everything needs to be binary when it's like straight into, midfield's better without Calmac, or it's worse without Calmac. No one's saying that. I tell you what, it's refreshing to know, though, the midfield looked quite creative still, and still it had a bit of purpose, and still it had plenty of confidence within it without Calmac. That's a good thing, not a bad thing. And, of course, I would play Cal McGregor tomorrow. Of course, on the second, sorry, Monty. I keep saying tomorrow. But you know what I mean? It was refreshing to see the other 3 midfielders play. Who's going to get the nod if we go down the line of it's Hattati McGregor? Or I suppose if you think it won't be, crack on.
Well, firstly, I just want to say thank God it's not tomorrow because I'm working tomorrow. So I had a wee heart attack for a second. I'm like, fuck, am I going to miss it?
Yeah, I think I've said it about 15 times. Sorry.
Yeah, I was starting to get conditioned. I'm like, oh shit, it really is tomorrow. No, I agree with Johnny. I do think it will be McGregor, Hattati, and Engels. I do believe that Brendan is trying to mould Engels into being this reliable starting midfielder. However, what I do like is when you change it up, and as you were talking about binary, non-binary, I do like it when it's changed up, especially the 60-minute mark. I think in terms of the midfield, I'm really happy with all the with all the variables that we have. They all bring something different to the table. But if there's one that I would start, it would be definitely Bernardo. He's probably my favorite. I think he's been the most consistent. He gets the job done. I think the first sign that I really liked him was in the cup final at the end of last season. He created the first chance for Celtic to score, and that's when I realised, right, he means business. He gets things done, and he's just continued to show that for me. So that's probably the one change I would make is Bernardo. But with those starting three, like, I'm not unhappy either. But I also like it when they make changes, especially with Bernardo and McCowan. I just think we're in a really good position.
Yeah, and there's a bit of variety with the three midfielders. The five going for three. Liam, I think sometimes the Tati can play things no one expects, and maybe the other midfielders aren't capable of even attempting. No disrespect them, I just think his technique and his vision and things that we dink over from the set piece route. Yes, it's worked on the training ground, but see, to execute it to that exact perfection for the timing of Bernardo's run, for it to be literally falling to him on the volley, you got that dink was just wee bits of magic. And I think that is what wins the day for him still, to be one of the set two midfielders. Calmat, we've spoken about enough. We all know why he's in. McCowan brings a different thing. I'll tell you this. You see, Luke McCowan, when he came on, what's the one thing you knew at the weekend he would do? Have a shot on target. That is, it sounds very simple, but when you're coming on to midfield trying to get to grips with the game, how do you know you'll have a shot on target? He'll definitely, if not a goal, he will have a shot on target. He's the most direct out of the lot of them, I think. And I wouldn't be surprised if we're at a 1-1 and Rodgers is staying true to his word, because I don't think McCowan will start. That's me just presuming that. Presuming that. I think he'd be the one to go to change it, because he'll try and find pocket space to get goals. He's not interested in all that, as much as he does fancy assists as well. We've seen him, a couple of nice wee lofted passes, etc. I think he likes getting goals, mate.
Also, as well, if you look at who you're playing against, you're bringing on a fan. He definitely understands the importance, whether it's a dead rubber or no, he will want to win. And so you've got someone that's coming on for the last 30 minutes of that is absolutely pumped, and he's played there before, but he's no played there in the hoops. And so I think for him going there, that's or maybe he has, but no, I don't think it is. But I think that's a big motivator as well. I agree with Pam as far as the midfield go. I think Bernardo's class. I thought he should have been man of the match the last thing. Two things that I really like that he does, he can tackle. He tackles non-stop. The amount of time I'm actually watching for him now, and every time you see a surprising tackle, something caught out, it's usually Bernardo's on the end of that. And what I like about him as well, he doesn't give away many yellow cards doing it. Matt O'Reilly could put in a tackle now and again, but he was clumsy. He would clumsy and he'd come in on the top, and it was easy to give him a yellow card or a foul against him away tackle. Bernardo's clean. He comes in and he still managed to get in there, gets the legs in, gets a dig in, but there's no foul. And so he comes out.
Toe pokes.
And so, because fouls in that part of the park kill us, right? And that's what I really like Bernardo, because they're going to be giving him all sorts of free kicks in the middle of the park to launch one, and that's the only hope that they've got against us. And so I think playing Bernardo will help with that. And then I think once McCowan comes on, he'll steady that. But we have to win all the battles in the midfield, and that means a lot of tackling. And I think Hatate, he has magic moments, but he needs magic moments. It has to come magically. He can't just turn it around. Whereas Bernardo, he's got a football brain. The amount of rebounds we get off of him shooting on net as well leads to a lot of their chances and a lot of their goals. Look at the final. Look at Kyogo's diving header, on the weekend. But I think but Bernardo, McGregor, and Engels. Thing is, I said it when we signed Engels. Are we allowed to drop McGregor ever? in a big game.
Yeah. I mean, I still think that probably not at this moment in time. I think probably not. But would I be against it? It all depends. I mean, I think sometimes form is important in football, but you need experience in certain fixtures as well. And Callum McGregor's experience in this fixture and his win record must be one of the best in Celtic's history. It must be. But Johnny, it's not just all about the team we picked. And I thank you all for your input in the midfield situation there, because I'm still as confused as I was before. So thanks for that. I like, start off 5 of them. But good, because there's good debate for them all, by the way. Johnny, there's also a reason to be confident. That means that there's got to be something else that's happened. Rangers. They drew with Tottenham. They won the League Cup but didn't lift the trophy. What's happened over there? And is this the best tonic for their recent incredible favours they want to give us? Or is this the fixture their fans are actually dreading more than we're confident of winning?
Well, let's put it this way. If the shoe was on the other foot, I would be dreading it. If it was them that were 14 points clear, potentially going 17 points clear, done all this, that, and the next thing, I would be dreading it. I don't know about anybody else on the bus, but I would be dreading it. So I would imagine they've got to be. They've got at least one striker who can't score. The defence is an absolute shambles. In fact, the ones that they would want to be playing aren't fit, i.e. Suter and Balogun. They're probably going to have to shore up their defence with Proper, who is impressing absolutely nobody. And Rangers paid about £2.5 million to get him. And he just is just not set. He might be a good central defender in a different league, but he's not suited to playing in Scottish football. He's not used to the up and at 'em, rough and tumble stuff. They have to be dreading it. There's just no other way there's no way they can be confident of getting a win. And especially as I keep going back to the circumstances of it, I just can't see how they could be confident at all. They can't decide who the best fullbacks are. Well, they know that's happening.
Johnny, what changed led to this incredible drop-off? And I think, I know it's easy to laugh, like, and Spurs are now shite and Ange is shite. I never rated that. I fancied Rangers to win, but it was a good performance they put in against an English Premier League side that people down there are still baffled at, that aren't doing better than what they are, such as their high stock, right? Then they play us in the League Cup final, put 3 past us. Let's not forget. How do they go from these sort of 2-draw highs? But is it all go back to the programme notes for Tavernier, Johnny, when he said the pressure simply is a bit too, I think you've talked about yourself probably, and because if you're captain, that'll spread around the group. So it doesn't matter who the other guys are. If your captain can't handle the pressure, that filters. So you could change the rest of them, but you keep the guy there who's feeling the nervous anxiety before the big occasions. And guess what? You'll get the same outcomes. I think they get to little peaks and then they crash and crumble unmistakably. And it feels like, again, their little wee mini peak of form. I think they got 4 wins in a row in the league and they got that draw with Spurs. They got 3 goals past us. They didn't lift the trophy, but I think they took confidence from it. So you would think. But then I think when all the fan fever kicks in and they say, I think they're getting close, by the way. I think we're getting close. I think we could be 6 points behind them. They shit it all over again. And it seems to me whenever they're within close proximity, Johnny, that's the worst thing for these guys. I agree with you. I think this fixture's a nightmare for them coming ahead in terms of how their fans are feeling.
But it was exactly the same last season when they went to Ross County and then Dundee. They were exactly the same situation. In fact, I can't remember the exact setup, but was it not? If they beat Ross County and then beat Dundee, they would go same games played and above us in the league. And nobody would have put any money on them getting beat by Ross County. What was it, 3-1 or 3-2? I think it was 3-1, wasn't it? And then they managed, they got a draw against Dundee, but the damage was done. And it's almost like when they get within touching distance of a prize.
100%, mate.
It's like a tap tackle at rugby, and down they go like a sack of spuds, like, you know. To be fair to them, to try and be objective, to be fair to them, they've not done well in Europe over the last, not just against Tottenham the other week there, and some of the other games this season. For the last 3 or 4 years, they've done well in Europe, better than what we'd have done in the same competition, if you like. But they just, is it because the drop off now is because they're just punching above their weight and they can sustain that for a couple of rounds and then take it into the 4th and 5th round of a boxing match? They just crumble. And if I could explain why, then I would be a manager of a football club somewhere. I cannot explain why. They're professional footballers. They're better than I am at playing football. I find it hard to criticise anybody who plays football at any sort of level because I was absolutely rank. So I've got no real place to criticise anybody. But there must be, I can only put it down to when they have that little peak, they're punching above their weight, and then they level out and come back to the true level. And that's the true level is where they are now. But they could raise up and punch above their weight on Thursday. Let's hope not.
Which is also true. And I think that is important to say that can still happen without it making, Celtic shite all of a sudden or anything like that. There can be one-off results that can occur. Pam, what I found interesting the last week or so as well is a strange deflection from their manager. I've heard it all, or I thought I'd heard it all with Kashinya, right? But this guy seems to be openly now just saying, look, the sports scientist says they can't play, they don't play. He seems to have no control. He seems to have signed 2 contracts since he joined Rangers and have about as much control as that Jimmy Bell guy did doing the kits. Do you know what I mean? Like he seems to just sit and whatever they say, these guys with laptops, he'll follow it. And I'm going, are you in a crisis mode here or not? See, when you're in crisis, you go, are you 60%? Can you take a wee injection before the game and get yourself 80? Like, we need these points. He just goes, no play. Definitely don't play. To everything that they say to him. And now, that being one excuse, he's never also beaten us yet in his stint. He's had 2 big comebacks, apparently. Return of the Messiah moments with a 3-3 win. And I think the League Cup win, again, 3-3. I think these have been his sort of seismic moments as Rangers manager where he's coming back. And then once the players do what they're inevitably going to do, but he picks probably wrong teams based on the PE teacher doing it. But then you get to this stage where I'm looking at him going, you've got no chance in this environment if you're not headstrong. And I think he seemed headstrong when he first came in. Now he looks like many of them end up doing, to be honest, when they go there, part of the systematic demise in your own strength of character, your own gut instinct. They seem to lose all that there. And that will reach fever pitch if we score early tomorrow.
100%. The few press conferences,
one more time.
Oh, fucking hell.
I was just trying to set up Pam there, that's all I was there. Just trying to set up Pam,
I've just learned to block it on my mind now, so that just went completely over my head.
Wait till I've got my full kit on tomorrow, sitting in front of the telly with a bottle of Buckfast. Where's the game?
6 cans.
Tomorrow.
You'd be messaging in the group, what's going on with Celtic TV? Oh, fucking hell, I've lost my train of thought now. Oh, wait, yeah, Clement. Every time I've seen him in one of them, post-match interviews, he just seems in this state of disconnect, really. And it's, I've often thought, and, I spoke with a Rangers fan, about 2 months ago, but I'd say his feelings are still the same. He says to me, I felt like we were watching different matches because what he says and thinks doesn't really compute with how the game has gone. So either he's completely ignorant, which means he's blended perfectly into their institution, or he's just in this state of resignation, like he's realized he can't really change what he wants to change. So he's just kind of in this mindset of, fuck it, I'm going to keep picking up my paycheck and just keep riding these waves. But, you know, the question is not tomorrow, but the second, going to be that tidal wave that completely capsizes the boat for him. Who knows?
Well,
time will tell.
Time will tell. Leah, but it's hard to put your finger on how this always happens. I want to give you a wee example of a Rangers season ticket holder of 30 years at my work in Scotia. If you are watching, hi. He's a great guy, right? Great guy. And he's quite open and honest about what he sees as the failings of the team, the manager, the club in general. He does kind of, in his mind, tell it like it is. Do you know what really fucking got me? About 2 months ago, he says, do you know one of the hardest things, he says, being a Rangers player is, he says, us fans, we turn so quickly on the team at home games. He says they've got more freedom away. And I could kind of get that. They've got as good a home record as us this season in the league, and they've won 4 out of 9 away. So there are problems. Even if a guy's sitting there thinking, oh, that's a wee bit much, you know, they're too critical. They've still done okay at home this year. Yeah, a season ticket, staunch fan can go, I think we're a wee bit overcritical. That could be a factor into the home form. But then you've got the away form to worry about now, where they've won less than 50% of the league games. So it's doors slamming shut, as I always say, everywhere they go. And your thoughts on Clement as well, if you wish, Liam. I want that.
I mean, the Thursday will show that, and you'll see how quick they turn on them. And I think your pal's right. They do tend to, they just over-exaggerate and overhype everything. So the hype, you know, when things are going good is overhyped, and the hype when things are going bad, it just turns into anger. I mean, entitlement breeds that sort of anger. You know, if you don't expect to win and you don't expect to have success, and, you know, a team like St Johnstone, you won 2 trophies in 1 year or something like that, you know, you've got every right to go out there and feel great and all that about yourself, but they're not turning around taking it, you know, making videos and all that of how they've turned the corner and how they're now the second most dominant, you know.
No, they're making plays instead.
Oh, just using them as an example, right? Yeah, they do turn on the people quick, but I think that's just part of football. They've had 20 years of watching us have success. They've only had like a small glimmer in between that. And so they don't know how to handle it. Whereas, you know, we have success on the home front, but we also balance that with some really miserable performances in Europe. So I think we get a much more balance, where for them right now, they don't even have the success at home. Yeah.
But with that comes, though, their anomaly where I think in Europe they're an impressive outfit for their records in Europe that they continually do, Johnny. This on paper, if you never watched the Messi, you haven't looked at the league table, but you're a European fan in a different country, and you just say, oh, Celtic's playing Rangers, I might watch that. Oh, Rangers, they're doing okay in Europa League. I've seen them near my team. They're 8th in the Europa League. Celtic 25th in Champions League. They've done okay. They've won 2 out of 6. They probably think it's quite an even match. In fact, Rangers won Europa League final a couple of years ago. This must be a right close battle. I think they'd get a fright if they looked at the league table and the recent records between the clubs. It seems to me that Europe, they know, is kind of a free hit, and that's why they play better in it. And then these games, these domestic ones, no free hit, 10 times more domestic scrutiny, because you'll get slammed for losing a European game for 10 minutes, which has always been my critique of Celtic. Celtic were too aware of that. Celtic knew they could get away, but underperforming in Europe, provided they provided the domestic bliss come the end of the season with trebles or Scottish Cup as leagues. Well, they knew the fans' short memory, no offence, would kick in and we'd forgot about the October exit in Europe. They're the other way around, where their European form is because there is none of that pressure. I mean, the pressure's on here, where all the scrutiny is. That is where they come a cropper. I just don't know what to put it down to, because the one thing I do like about Celtic in 2024 is when Rodgers has been tested more than he's ever been tested, Johnny, as Celtic boss. That was that opening 6 months of his first season back. they've found resolve to go and put the best calendar year in. Rangers will turn to someone else after the second if we get a big win. They'll turn for another guy to try and find some sort of master plan out of nowhere. It's systematic in the squad, and it's systematic in the players they bring in, and maybe the fan base thing as well, that these games they struggle with far bigger than they do games they've got zero expectations in.
Well, I think actually Rangers will be looking for a new manager whether they win, lose or draw on Thursday. I think the decision is pretty much made there. I don't think his position is untenable. He'd have to go on a remarkable set of results to survive that job. I'm sure he's gone. And in fact, the Rangers board are probably hoping that we do win so they can actually say, well, we're sacking you. Because it is very difficult. I think he'd be the first Old Firm manager. Would he be the first Old Firm manager? Manager in Glasgow of Celtic or Rangers to lose their job after a win in the Derby game? He probably would be. But I still think he will. Where they get this complete opposites in this to Scottish League and in Europe, I'm mystified at, because it's not just this season or even just last season. It goes back to Gerrard. You used to think, I didn't even bother watching the games, and you see the results and you go, how the hell have Rangers managed to beat Dortmund 4-2 away from home?
Not Gerrard.
Yeah, in the Gio days, yeah. So how the hell have they managed to do that? Because they beat them 4-2 away from home, didn't they? Yeah, you think you would never have, in your wildest moments, put any money on that. Not even the most ardent Rangers supporter would have put money on a 4-2 win. So I just cannot explain why they've got a good record, a reasonably good record in Europe over the last few years, certainly better than ours, to being so poor at home. The only thing it can be is, as you've just said, they just can't cope with the pressure and the expectation and let's face it, the demands of their supporters that we must win. We must win this.
Yep, that's unrealistic.
We must win these games. And then, like you said, to play against Tottenham, all right, it wasn't Tottenham's strongest team, but for me, I looked at Tottenham and thought, they're still going to be good enough.
Ange needed the result too. Ange needed the result in that as well. The pressure was on him as well.
He did need the result, yeah. And when we talk about managers making strange decisions, I think, to go off topic slightly, I think Ange is making some very strange decisions down at Spurs. When
good surprise.
He says he wins a trophy in his second year, but I've said my brother-in-law is a massive Spurs supporter, and I've said, why is he not playing? All right, I know some of them are injured, I said, but he's still leaving out some main men in winnable games. That
you're watching a movie that
got, like the last season, for example, he's doing all right this year. Whether he gets through the next round and who they've got, but anyway, we go off topic. But he's making some pressure does strange things to people.
Yeah.
Whether Ange's feeling that kind of pressure as well down there.
Yes.
Just like you say, but Clement's doing the most strangest things that you would just never imagine. That a manager who's supposed to have a reputation, he's won in Belgium, didn't do so well in France, got chased out at Monaco. And I don't think Monaco fans will be queuing up to buy him a beer if he ever went back there for the Monaco Grand Prix. Let's put it that way.
What did he have in common?
Pressure does strange things to people, including managers, including players, and I think they are just struggling to deal with the pressure. And like Liam said earlier on, the best thing that can happen for us on Thursday, Pam, not tomorrow, is for us to score early, because the pressure that will be piled on that Rangers team, on that park, they will just not be able to.
They need to score in the first 5 minutes, so that it's doomsday for them. They need to score maybe 10 minutes, but yeah, definitely. Sorry, Cell88 came in. Great to have you on, mate. Love your channel as well. And he says storing water in a jug is just a sign of money. Well, I got a jug with my initial on it from a regular viewer called Johnny, as well. Funnily enough,
not this one.
not this one. No, but Johnny, do you know what he does? He goes to the rigs, right? And he can now access YouTube and stuff on the rigs. He says, I tried. He goes, I don't want to watch the shows at the time. He goes, my favourite thing I loved after a month away, he goes, I binge watch the Bhoycie Bus. He goes, it's the first thing I do. And he sent me photos so many times, just him with his feet up, beer in hand on his time off, and he goes, "This is me." And he watched like 7-8 episodes in a row, and he was kind enough to send me said decanter. And of course, Celtic, it's not fucking water in it, mate. Let's be real. Maybe in January it'll be water in it, but it's not a sign of money from me. It's a sign of how kind people can be. Right, before we wrap it up, Pam, we need to do this. You don't want to do it, but we've got to do it. It's time for what you think is going to happen on Thursday.
Well done. Finally got it eventually. Better late than never. I have the feeling it's time for scalping, but I've had that feeling for a while. But I also feel like it's different. So I'm thinking like a 5-0, to be honest. I'm ready.
Yeah, Pam, Graham came in earlier and I'd start this comment. Whilst there is an argument to me that they may be due a win, we're also due them a scalping. Yes. There is another side to this coin, isn't there, Pam? So you think 5-0, honestly? We
have been better than them for at least 2 we've been much stronger than them for at least 2 seasons, and we've been continuing to build and build and build up. So I think now we're at the point where, fuck it. I have a really big feeling we're going to do it. May come back to bite me. If that happens, I will put my hands up. But right now, I'm feeling a 5-0, and I'm buzzing with that.
Liam, do you share the theory that it's the scalping that's due more than the odd defeat that we'll inevitably have as this relationship continues? It'll be the odd cup, maybe the odd league, and the odd derby defeat, but it'll be the odd one. Are we looking more likely to that? Or is it going to be Rodgers, since you came back, 3-0's not quite enough yet. We want a scalping this time.
I think you're looking at a form team right now in Celtic where we've sort of been building up towards this, as Pam says. I think you can see it evolving, and you can see now the channels of the goals opening up. If we play that same team, I think we scalp them. I think we're going to see the Kyogo show. I think the wee man's back. If we can keep feeding him the chances, the balls in between the defenders, Oregato, Mr. Baldy, Bilio, or whatever his name is, Cheerio, he's gone back to Belgium. Just get him out of there. Day will be done. Empty stadium. I'm going to enjoy it. You'll be able to hear all them shouting at each other. You'll be able to hear the fans shouting at the players and all that. You might even hear the players on the park because there's going to be nothing in the stand. Be empty.
Yes, well, it will be certainly no Celtic fans at the game, Johnny. But notwithstanding that, does that have any impact on the result? What is the score going to be?
I don't think it's going to have an impact on the result. We talk about, it's about time we gave, we were lining up another proper Hunt scalping, and we need more than the 3-0 that Brendan's managed since he came back. Are this Rangers team any better than the Rangers team of 5 and 6 years ago when we were regularly just turning up and doing them 5-1, 5-0? But I'm going to go for 4-0, and Kyogo is going to come and haunt Butland as he has done in the last few because we always talk about Maeda and Tavernier and how he's terrified of Maeda. I think Kyogo's got the same sort of hex over Butland. I mean, he's done him from outside the penalty box 3 times at least in the last couple of seasons. One he even had the audacity to just pass the ball into the back of the net from about 25 yards. One was the one you spoke about earlier on with the header out, header back, and before anybody knew what was happening, the ball was in the back of the net. And then, of course, there was the other one at Celtic Park where he beat 2 players and hit it with his left foot into the top corner from outside the penalty box. So I'm going for 4-0, Kyogo to score from outside the box.
Very, very good. Right, love the optimism. Johnny, there was a couple of questions. I remember we did a show in the mid-season. We did the old series called What's it called again? Behind the wheel?
bonnet.
Under the bonnet.
Under the bonnet.
Fuck, I can't even remember what I come up with. We did Under the Bonnet. Find out a wee bit about the passengers. Did chat squeeze. It was great. What 2 questions did I miss?
We didn't do the
prediction
worst. We didn't do the worst Celtic player, and we didn't do the least undervalued. The least appreciated, or how I can't remember how you.
Yeah, underrated.
Underrated.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Okay, hit me with the answers now. Put you on the spot. 205 live. Come on.
Okay, then. So, worst player, and there's been a few in my time. The likes of Wayne Biggins, for example. But I'm going to change it slightly. I'm going to go for the one that, for me personally, was the most disappointing signing we ever had, and gets very close to possibly being the worst. And because I remember way back and I'm going to go back a lot of years now, 1990, Football focused on a feature on a guy who played for West Ham. They actually done a series of top up-and-coming players tipped for the stardom of the future. They got 1 or 2 right. They got 1 or 2 wrong, including the one I'm about to talk about. And they've done this series on them. And this guy was called Stuart Slater at West Ham. And he was tipped to become the top man. Yeah, Phillips DeMarco's got it right. He was tipped to become the top man. We watched it. We watched the programme, seen him playing. Obviously, we didn't have as much live television as we do now. And I could not believe it when Liam Brady signed him for Celtic. We got him for $1.5 million. And I was absolutely overjoyed that we'd signed this guy. I couldn't believe that we'd actually signed this guy. He was tipped to go to bigger clubs than West Ham, because West Ham weren't a big club at that time. But we got him. And despite having all the skill in the world, my most memories of this guy was watching him playing keepy-uppy in the warm-up before a game kicked off. He was such a disappointment. He just, for whatever reason, it just didn't kick on for him, either at Celtic or wherever he went after that. But he was sort of not the worst player. He was the biggest disappointment I ever had as a Celtic supporter regarding a player. As I said earlier on, I don't like to say people were the worst player, this, worst, that, or whatever. But we had a few bad ones. Oh, is that the lesser spotted Liam Collo that we've just got coming in? No, that's an AI, isn't it? That's artificial intelligence, that, isn't it?
We've been trying to work out whether Liam Collo was one of the first guests we ever had on the channel, right? And he did double doing. He came on a few times, said about 6 words, got really drunk one night. But he is the man, right? Absolutely. He's been in our group chat since day one. He is one of the original members of the bus. And some who've been added since have wondered, is he even real? Liam, how are you, son?
I'm not bad yourself.
I'm very well, mate. I'm very well. Have you got any random facts for us, mate?
What sort of random facts?
he's prone in the group chat just to randomly telling you a few random facts here and there. But great to have you on, pal. How are you?
Yeah, I'm not bad. I just getting ready for a few probably vodkas, I think.
Right, good, mate. Good. What I was going to ask, I was about to ask Johnny a second question. We'll come back to that because I need to know for you your prediction for the game on Thursday.
Yeah, I'm going to go 6-2 with Celtic.
6-2. Tell me what.
I'm might be right.
Still, it depends on the start 11. I think if it all depends on that, and they might want to come out score early. That way, but I still think we'll be strong enough. That way, we probably own them a wee sort of doing at one point. And I'm going to put a wee flying. I can say I'm going for an Arnie Engels hat trick, and maybe even a wee Lewis Palmer.
So we're getting 3 penalties then, are we?
You never know.
This is what we deal with in the group chat all the time.
There's no way we're getting 3 penalties at Ibrox. You behave yourself.
3 penalties, 3 goals. See if that happens. Liam, I'm going to rename this the Liam Collo Bus. for the rest of the time. I will rename the channel. This is the Liam Collo Bus. If we get 3 penalties and England scores them, I brought.
This is going to be penalties.
He's been in 2 minutes, and this is what he does to our group chat on a daily basis. Have you had any raspberry cola cubes over the festive period?
No, not while.
Just wondering, just asking the question. And what's your plans for the night?
Just a wee couple of quiet ones in with the old man. He's coming in later on, so that sort of thing.
And go tell us who your dad is. Your dad is a legend on social media, right?
Oh, is it
Willie
Collo? Aye.
Willie Collo posts all these memories of Celtic players, whether it be wee clips, predominantly photos. You must have seen him on all the social medias, Facebook. He's got thousands and thousands of followers. And that's your old man, isn't it?
Aye, I am wee mini Collo.
You're mini Collo. At least you know mini Column.
Oh, you did we go that years ago?
You've done your refereeing course, though, haven't you?
Yeah, I gave that up years ago.
You gave it up? No, it wasn't years ago, mate, because you told us in the group chat when you got it. We've only been going a wee while.
No, I gave that up in COVID, and I had that since I was 2016.
Are you still doing the coaching?
No, I mean,
stop that as well. Fucking hell,
I'm the boxing and all that.
How's the boxing going?
He's given that one up.
No, no, I'm out of football that way. It's a sort of quiet period, and maybe go again March, April time for a fight.
Oh, mate, we need to go. We need to get the whole Bhoycie Bus there for his next fight. We need to do that to show some support.
Sponsor him. Hey, Russell, we need to sponsor him with some Bhoycie Bus.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we'll do that. Yeah, 100%. We'll do that. Definitely. No, I would love to do that. Yeah, we'll sponsor you, Liam, for the next fight. How about that? Right? Sound.
Like
I will sponsor you, mate. See if you get beat. I swear to God, man. Honestly. Don't talk to me again. No, please do, because I need your company. Johnny, I was going to ask you another question. What was it going to be? I've already can't mind.
Underrated player?
Yep.
Right. Again, I'm going to go back a bit. And I'm going to have probably a soft spot for this guy because he scored 2 goals in the first Scottish Cup final I ever went to, which was 1975. Airdrie against Celtic. Celtic won 3-1. And a guy called Paul Wilson scored 2 of the goals that day. And I always felt he was, and maybe it's because I was just a young lad at the time and he scored 2 goals in the first cup final, but I always liked him and always rated him. But when you read a little bit more about his history and what he'd done in a relatively short time at Celtic, don't know if you remember him, Liam. Do you remember him, Paul Wilson?
Aye, Paul Wilson. I remember him well.
Right. Well, he was an Indian lad. He was born in Bangladesh, Scottish father, and his mother was of Indian extraction, Dutch Portuguese, and he was one of the Quality Street kids, one of the Quality Street gang, played for them. He's the only man who scored in 4 cup finals in Scotland. He scored in the Driver Cup, he scored in the Scottish League Cup, he scored in the Scottish Cup, and he scored in the Glasgow Cup when the Glasgow Cup was a bit of a trophy back in the 70s and big crowds, and it was quite an important game, generally played out between Celtic and Rangers. He was also, he outscored Kenny Dalglish in the 1974-75 season when Dalglish was already and he was a bit like an Elvis Presley lookalike. He had the big sideburns light, and but the other interesting thing about him, and this is why he should be remembered a bit more, because he was the only person, he was the first Asian, and he was the only person of colour to represent Scotland in the 20th century.
Wow.
He was.
He was the first Asian.
Kevin Harper.
Oh, Asian.
We've
had
and not a person of colour. The next one after him was Nigel Quasi, and that was 30 years later.
Did we know of a guy named Salim or something that played with us in the 1930s or 40s? That was
I'm talking about no, Liam. Liam, what I said was he was the first person to represent Scotland of Asian.
Yeah, I know. We had what was the guy's name? The one that they had the mural at Queen's Park. Was he Andrew Watson or something like that? He was one of the first person I call it to represent Scotland. I think he captained us once in the 1890s.
No, I'm talking in the 20th century though.
Oh, okay.
Because we also had Gil Scott Heron's son was one of the first players to play for Celtic, wasn't he?
Yeah.
So I just think he in a very short period of time, he actually achieved a lot with Celtic.
Quite a lost name.
Titles. Pardon?
Quite a lost name, that one. Yeah,
definitely a lost name.
Usually I would know of the name. I wouldn't maybe know their whole life story in that, but I didn't recognise it at all.
Yeah, but
I
always reckon he went on to play for I think he played for Motherwell and maybe Partick Thistle after he left us in 1977. But he was only there really. He had about 3 or 4 seasons at Celtic Park, but achieved quite a lot. Jock Stein gave him his debut. But I always think he was one of these players that quite undervalued in Celtic's history because he done quite a few things and things that nobody else will be able to do again because we don't have 4 cup finals in a season anymore. And so he's the only man who's ever done it. So
wow.
He scored against Rangers about 3 or 4 times. But I always liked him because he scored.
I'm sure I scored against
first ever cup final, 75, which was actually, when I think about it, was a significant game in itself because it was Billy McNeil's last game for Celtic. He retired after that.
Anyway, we're going to make we'll make a regular feature of the history corner with Johnny Logue at the end of every episode from now on.
Cheeky bastards.
End of every episode. And now over to Johnny Logue in the history studio.
They'll blast his history corner, yeah?
Fun facts and lessons with Johnny Logue.
There you go.
That was good.
Underrated player, I reckon, most underrated player.
Yeah, the quality street kids. I might write a book about them. Oh, I've been beaten to it. Anyway, Liam thinks it's going to be 6-2 tomorrow on Thursday with 3 penalties for Celtic, probably Engel scoring them all. Liam, you said what, 4-0? Liam the Punk Duck, you said 4-0?
3-0.
3-0 you are.
Revised
Johnny,
I think I said 4-0, but my biggest prediction is Kyogo's going to put them to the sword.
All right, so Samurai.
I'm not telling you what I think. Okay. I think we'll draw.
What?
Nah, I'm only kidding. I think it'll be. It won't be 4-0. It'll be 2-0 Celtic. It'll just be a polished performance that'll get game managed the way certain guys, mate. It's who we are, mate. Don't know how to game manage. And when we go 2-0 up, what Rodgers does differently from other more preferred managers is he sees them out at 2-0. And we will win 2-0. Once the game's in the bag, we'll make sure that the 3 points stay, coming on the bus, the Bhoycie Bus back with them. And we certainly won't blow that away. But I look forward to it. And everyone, Happy New Year to you all, by the way. Cheers to everyone, Liam included. I don't know if you've got vodka yet, but hey, what a cameo, mate. Malibu? You came on the show with Malibu? Oh, for fucks. We're going to get cancelled for that, mate.
What?
Oh, fucking. He's not came on with Malibu.
Hello.
Hell, man.
I knew this was a bad idea. Anyway, hail, and a happy new year to each and every one of you. I can't thank you guys enough for coming on. I can't thank enough. It's been over 200 most of the time live tonight. Go enjoy the rest of your new year. And yes, thanks again. That was brilliant fun, guys. And anyway, happy new year. Cheers.